welcome back. Let's be real. Something rotten is going on in the state of healthcare. We are bombarded with one-size-fits-all solutions while alternative treatments are often dismissed. The government pushes vaccines with questionable side effects and simultaneously cracks down on natural supplements. Is this a coincidence, or is there something more sinister at play? Today, I am joined by John Richardson to dissect this very issue. We are going to be tackling a lot of topics, including the controversial mRNA cancer vaccine development, specifically President Trump's Operation Stargate, and the serious concerns raised by John Richardson himself and others. We're going to talk about the questionable funding and the viability of this project, the significant health and safety concerns surrounding mRNA vaccines, which actually echoes a lot of the anxieties of many medical freedom advocates. And finally, we're going to talk about the chilling implications for privacy given the involvement of figures like Larry Ellison and the potential for big tech surveillance under the guise of public health. You guys know I have a lot to say in regards to that, so get ready for a conversation that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about health and wellness in today's world. Let's welcome John Richardson. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Amy. It's my pleasure. I'm really excited about, I will call it a relaunch of Parler. I was a member of Parler when you guys were exploding.
Were you? So
absolutely.
You remember the days of freedom.
Oh yeah, we had some freedom. We were able to talk. You know, that's what what a world we live in. I've been fighting this battle for truth for my whole life, basically since I was born. My dad made me a life member of an organization called the John Birch Society. And they used to lie about that organization. It was a Christian-based truther organization, but they would call us white supremacists. They would call us, whatever it was all untrue. And so many people know G. Edward Griffin, who was an OG of the truth movement. He wrote the book Creature from Jekyll Island. He was one of my dad's closest friends. They were on the board of the John Birch Society, who's still around to this day. Back then, they were considered right-wing extremists. Now it's kind of like center of the road because, there's nothing that the John Birch Society ever said that everybody said it was conspiracy theory. Yeah. It was all truth. It's been
really wild to me to see the shift in, I think, obviously, COVID played a massive part in waking a lot of people up. Typically, the people that you would have thought would have fallen on the side of medical freedom, especially people that were against vaccines, might have been looked at as one side of the aisle. And to see that completely shift, and then who would have ever thought in America that we would have to have platforms specifically tailored to people being able to have open dialogue and discussion? Did you ever think in your life that you would see that in America?
Well, unfortunately, Amy, I grew up knowing that. A lot of people thought we had freedom of speech, but the mass media, the big media like CBS, ABC, NBC, has been controlled my entire lifetime. Now, People might think that they had freedom of speech, but all that these large organizations did was tell what they were told to tell. And it's been that way for years. It's gotten worse recently now with social media. They've, like the Facebooks and the YouTubes. You can't mention my name on Facebook or YouTube without your channel getting knocked down. You can't mention my company's name on there. Why? The only thing they say is medical misinformation. But
I was going to ask you what specifically, well, they'll never give you exact pieces of what was the misinformation, but like what were you putting out there that was getting flagged?
Well, we've known the truth about cancer for 70 years. We've had the answer to cancer for 70 years. Nobody has to die of cancer. That's a shocking statement for me to make in 2025. But RFK Jr. knows my story. He had me on his podcast, and he had to cancel when we were just about to start taping because his mom had a stroke, and that was the last podcast he was ever on. Wow. My dad was Dr. John Richardson, and in the 70s, he came out and told the world that he had the answer to cancer. It was just a natural, cancer's a deficiency disease. Another jaw-dropping statement that big pharma, big medicine doesn't want.
Yeah, well, I want to get into all that soon because cancer has touched everybody's life. I mean, like, including me, not personally, but with my father. And I want to dive into a lot of this stuff. But before we do, I kind of want to take a couple of steps back. We mentioned Operation Stargate, mRNA cancer vaccines, and that opening monologue. I think it's pretty safe to say that you're not a big fan of either one of those and not of Operation Stargate. In fact, you have created a coalition against Operation Stargate and the mRNA cancer vaccine. Why?
Well, it's real simple. mRNA has been proven to destroy the immune system and increase cancer rates. Now, cancer is a deficiency disease. Again, something you're not going to hear anywhere except on Parler or
What do you
maybe
mean
some
by
other.
that?
What do I mean by that? Well, you're familiar with scurvy. Scurvy is a deficiency disease. It's a deficiency of vitamin C. Rickets is a deficiency of vitamin D. Pernicious anemia is a deficiency of vitamin B12, and there's many other deficiencies. It's mentioned that about 95% of the diseases that we walk around as Americans are all preventable. They're all diet related. They're all nutritionally related. RFK Jr. himself has said he's going to wipe out 95% of chronic disease in 4 years, or we can fire him. He said that I see he just got confirmed. So we should be popping. It's a life-changing time we're in. So I know that I come with a lot of information, but I want to break it down. Vaccines, their own studies by the NIH say do not ever use mRNA vaccines in a cancer study. Do not use mRNA in a cancer study because it automatically increases cancer rates. Not because the mRNA causes cancer, it's because it destroys the immune system. These vaccines are criminal. Not only would I not ever take one, I have 11 children and not one of my children has ever been pierced by a vaccine. And I'm not a hippie, Amy. I didn't grow up on a farm. My kids all went to public school. My son's 33 state champion basketball player in California. I just said no because there was no documentation my entire life that these vaccines actually worked. All the vaccines that we take that they tell us it's science don't work. And so
I hate to interrupt you, but I want to make something clear because this is something for my own self that I'm just not quite understanding. When we are talking about mRNA vaccines, are we talking about, in President Trump says we're going to make an mRNA cancer vaccine. Is that the same type of mRNA vaccine that everybody just got up in arms over and started the entire basically Maha movement being against being forced having to take? Are we talking about the same kind of mRNA vaccines or are they different for cancer?
Yes, but let me just ask you, Amy, if you were sick and you didn't feel well, would you go out and look for a real estate developer, an excellent real estate developer to help you with your sickness or your health? Or
No.
would you go to someone who eats Big Macs and Diet Coke regularly? Would you ask that person about health advice?
No.
I love President Trump. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's interesting where we find ourselves with these politicians even doing this anyways. You know, I think I just want people to have the information to understand everything that came out about the mRNA vaccines. We saw that the studies are now saying that it increases cancer, that it increases heart problems, that it is increasing this white fibrotic tissue coming out of people's bodies when the embalmers are looking at their body. Like, that is not something I feel like we should be putting into our body. But I'm also all about people making their own choices. If you want to do that and you are excited about this advancement in technology, but I wanted you to tell us from your standpoint and from the research that you've done, like, what is wrong with these mRNA vaccines? Why would we never want to take them for cancer?
Well, Peter McCullough, I'll be speaking with him on stage. We were both speaking at an event here in Phoenix at the end of March. He's said all along it should never be used for humans. They've proven all along that it shouldn't be used. It's well stated. I would guarantee anybody that's watching this knows the dangers of mRNA vaccines, but the evil ones are still going to push it. They don't really care about us, our health. They just look at us as a pincushion that we make profit off of, that they can control. There's all sorts of nefarious things behind it. Here's the key, Amy. You cannot give someone a vaccine to prevent thirst. Thirst is a lack of water. Just like you can't give someone a vaccine for scurvy because scurvy is a lack of vitamin C. We've long since known that. But if scurvy was around today, the FDA or the big pharma would have injections to help our teeth from falling out. They'd give us injections to help our bones from curving. All things that scurvy did and all things that sucking on a lemon or an orange would prevent. Cancer is nothing but a deficiency disease. I have so much documentation and proof, just some of it's on the shelves behind me. I have NIH studies. I have Loyola University studies by a PhD professor with 50 published reports, all proving that cancer is a deficiency disease. But guess what? It doesn't make any profit to tell people that they can just eat right and avoid cancer.
But are we
So,
talking all cancers are all deficient in the exact same thing?
well, in general, yes. In general, yes. That's a generalized question. It's a little bit more of a complicated answer. And it's not, and I want to make it clear, it's not some patented, trademarked thing that I've got that you got to pay $8,000 for. Basically, once I teach someone this and get this word out there, that's why they're so afraid of this information getting out there. Once someone understands what cancer really is, that's when they really can fight through the lies of the only thing that you're allowed to treat somebody with is chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. Now they're trying to say, do an mRNA vaccine that's specific to you. It's so preposterous, Amy, that it's almost idiotic to tell people, I'll give you a vaccine so you no longer are hungry. How about that? Would people line up for that? Cancer is your body's immune system not having what it needs to prevent the breakdown. Cancer is a breakdown in our own body's immune system. It's not something you catch. It's not something in your DNA. It's not even parasites, even though parasites, once you have a deficiency, parasites attack you. So anybody out there listening to the audience goes, well, I heard that fenbendazole and ivermectin works. It does. It kills parasites, but it still doesn't fix the underlying problem. If you've got a deficiency, a vitamin and nutritional deficiency, you're eating garbage food, you're going to get cancer. I have a gentleman in my office right this second that I can bring on that is 50 years cancer free. He was sent home to die by a major cancer institute, not Loyola, but he would say the name, 50 years ago. 50 years ago, and he went to Mexico, got the treatment that my dad developed in the early 1970s with Laetrile, B17, and pancreatic enzymes, and wiped out his cancer, and he's been cancer-free for 50 years. Why isn't his story? His name is Rick Hill. He wrote a book called
Every type of cancer?
What's that?
Is this working for every type of cancer? Or there's
Well,
some types of
yes,
cancer that are more responsive to that.
Yes, no, it is every type. Cancer is not a type. That's the other lie they've taught us, that bone cancer is different than liver cancer. Brain cancer is different than ovarian cancer. Cancer is a deficiency disease. That's the lie they've told us all. And it's so hard for people to, and Amy, I can't blame you if you think I'm crazy or you think you're hearing this and it can't be possible.
No.
But I've been telling this story for the last 7 years, and it's slowly getting out there.
Yeah, I actually love it because I'm open to what I love about having conversations like this is that I think that people need to hear and get as much information and have access to as much information as they possibly can and then decide for themselves what they want to do with that information. I don't think it's right that you're out there telling this story and giving this information and all these other big tech platforms have completely suppressed, censored, and silenced your message because there are some people out there, like you said, that have benefited from this but if they don't get to hear the other side of it, they never know. I think about my dad has leukemia. And the only thing he's been told about leukemia is that leukemia, throw everything you know about cancer out the window. It is different than every other type of cancer. There's one way to treat it. There's one way with this. And that's all he knows. And he's probably never going to hear the other. Well, now he is because I'm going to send him this episode.
Well, he's not going to believe it. He's not going to believe it because for the last 70 years, we've been brainwashed to believe that cancer is a medical problem. It's not. It's a metabolic problem. And that dividing line is so difficult for people to accept because they just say, well, John, if this was true, if this was really true, wouldn't we all know about it? No, we not only wouldn't know about it, it's precisely because it's true that we don't. Cancer is a $1 trillion industry. They don't build these breast cancer facilities and the Mary G, whatever she's called, cancer societies. All this is millions of dollars raised. And how much closer are we today, Amy, to having an answer to cancer than we were 50 years ago?
Of eradicating
We've
breast
already
cancer.
known.
Yes, I agree with you. I ask that question all the time. I say, like we give millions. They have so much awareness around breast cancer, and yet women are getting it at a higher rate now. Like, what have we done to cure breast cancer? I mean, so yeah, I'm all about hearing the other side. So when you talk about deficiencies, are you talking about we can go and eat specific foods? And if so, what kind of foods?
Well, what kind of foods? That's basically the compound that I'm talking about, the vitamin C comparison with scurvy. The compound I'm talking about is called amygdalin. It's found in over 1,200 different foods: lima beans, millet, barley, broccoli sprouts, sorghum molasses, the little seeds on the side of strawberries, but primarily in the seeds of stone fruits, primarily apple seeds, peach seeds, but the highest concentration is apricot seeds. So many of your audience might have heard apricot seeds. I heard those were good. And then they did a Google search and said, oh, if you eat 3 of them, you could die of cyanide poisoning.
That's what
Okay.
I Googled. My friend told me she was taking the, and I think she takes the ones that you guys sell. She's like, I got this bag of apricot seeds. I'm like, why? And she's like, because of X, Y, and Z. And then, of course, the first thing that you Google that pops up, don't eat too many, you'll die of cyanide poisoning.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, that's the lie, Amy.
yeah.
And I used to pussyfoot around it and like not run it. But I just spoke to a famous brain surgeon just 2 days ago. We became friends. He woke up because of this COVID thing. He realized he was lied to. He's getting out there trying to tell the truth. I'm talking to the most amazing doctors that you can imagine, telling them the truth, because I have so much statistics and data that the 3-letter agencies tried to confiscate and destroy. I found 3 trailerfuls, 55-foot trailerfuls of information, studies, books, case histories, stories. So many stories, Amy, that literally would take us 8 hours for me to go through them all. But here's the bottom line. Cancer is a deficiency disease, a deficiency of the little substance found in apricot seeds. It doesn't kill you. It doesn't poison you. It might get you sick to your stomach. I've been doing this 30 years, and I don't know of one actual case that I can find of someone dying from eating too many apricot seeds. Not any one actual case. Yes, people can have an upset stomach because they don't understand the chemistry. Basically, the chemistry, the molecule of cyanide that we're so afraid of is locked as tightly in this as it is in B12. B12 is called cyanocobalamin. No one worries about B12 injections giving them cyanide poisoning, but they do when it comes to B17 or amygdalin, because the amygdalin that breaks apart from the molecule, the cyanide that breaks apart from the molecule only does it, Amy, in the presence of beta-glucosidase. It's an enzyme that breaks it apart. So if I had some beta-glucosidase in this hand and some amygdalin in this hand, I mixed them together and I ate it, I could cause myself to be sick. My body would be like, well, this is cyanide poisoning because the beta-glucosidase breaks apart the amygdalin. But let your audience hear me on this. The only place in your body that has an appreciable amount of beta-glucosidase is cancer cells. So when you have amygdalin in your body and it floats along and it finds a cell that's improperly multiplying, we call it a trophoblast cell. That's a whole nother story. But we call it a trophoblast cell. When it comes along and the amygdalin breaks apart, it kills the cancer cell. The cyanide kills the cancer cell. The benzaldehyde also, that's the 4 molecules, 2 of glucose, which cancer loves, 1 of benzaldehyde, and 1 of cyanide. The benzaldehyde and the cyanide together cause an analgesic effect and kill the cancer. So many of the stories that we have in all the hundreds, if not thousands of books we have on the subject of B17 in the prevention and the control of cancer, many of them talk about the case histories of people that had no more pain. They were on all sorts of pharmacological drugs to keep their pain away, and they would start taking apricot seeds and their pain would go away. My dad found that in about 95% of his 6,000 cases that he treated it from 1972 to 1977, when he released a book proving that it worked. It's called Laetrile Case Histories. I usually have it right here. I don't know where the book is.
Oh no, I'm just as you're looking for it. What would be wrong with somebody, or would there be potential effects if somebody did decide to go the chemotherapy route, but then also wanted to mix in these apricot seeds while they were going through chemotherapy? Are we canceling out the effects of one or the other by doing that?
I just took the moment while you were asked a question to eat my 10 of my 40 apricot seeds I ate a day.
I have to get some, by the way. You're gonna have to tell our audience where people can go to buy. Are they specific type of apricot seeds that they have to get?
No, there's nothing magical. There's nothing magical about it. That's the hardest part for people to believe. So you just asked me about chemotherapy and apricot seeds. 100%. Here's what I'm gonna say to the doctors out there that go, this guy's crazy, man. Your patients if you get them on the proper nutrition, will respond better to the poisonous drugs you're giving them than they will if you don't make them eat healthy and be on a good diet. So anybody that says, oh, that sounds like it's got cyanide, I don't want to do that if it's doing chemotherapy. This is not a drug. I'm not telling you some secret drug I found. The Hunzas have eaten them for millennia. They live to be 130 years old. They eat 200 apricot seeds a day. This is well known, documented, but nobody hears about it. The books and the information is available. So when I get asked, well, I'm doing this custom thing that my doctor has me doing for this specialized cancer I have, and he tells me don't eat the apricot seeds, I say, okay, well, does he tell you not to eat healthy food? Does he tell you not to eat vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc and all these other things? Well, if he does, you need a second opinion, because any doctor that's out there that doesn't want their patient to be eating healthy as they're going through the cancer treatments, these cancer treatments that are barbaric as far as I'm concerned, cutting, burning, and poisoning. That's what our current treatments are for cancer. 5 years ago, I probably would have get shot from saying that. 5 years ago, most of the doctors I talked to, the MDs, would have kicked me out of their office and said, this guy's crazy. He can't possibly know what he's talking about. Now, people are open to the fact we've been lied about the COVID thing and the vaccine. So it's not so preposterous to think we've been lied to about cancer. Let me tell you, Amy, we've been lied. We've been lied to. It's going to take people hearing this message many times from many different sources.
Well, I think that's the scary thing with all of this is at this point, and now that we know that so much has been censored and suppressed, and then it's come out that reports from the NIH have been fraudulent. I mean, people just don't even know where to go to get their information, other than just starting to kind of test theories and find out for yourself and do your own self research. And that's kind of where we find it. So I really want to make it my mission to get as much information out there from as many different sources and let people decide and pick and choose and all this. One thing I do want to get into, because I don't think people are really paying attention with this announcement with Operation Stargate. My ears perked up when I heard we were going to be, as a country pumping $500 billion into this tech, all these data centers. I saw NVIDIA's name pop in there as I was like, this is really interesting because all of them are sitting right there at the inauguration. And what is going on with it? Like, why are we suddenly buddying up to the same big tech platform and people running these big tech platforms that just censored all of us during COVID? Like, explain to me, for when you heard this, what did you think was going on?
Well, I know what's going on. We are in a battle between good and evil. And I'm going to break it down as simple as possible. Whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever, if you're an atheist, we are in a battle between good and evil. People that want less population, they want control of the population. So there's going to be things that pop up, like this guy that popped up, Larry Ellison or what.
I don't want to cut you off. Let's watch that video really fast.
Great.
Exactly what Larry Ellison said.
Yep.
We're going to play the clip. I just don't have it right here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. What is your take on this clip?
Well, my take is that he's a fool. But when it comes to, I tried to talk about it before. I don't want anybody watching this think I don't like President Trump. I've hung out with Eric and Don Jr. Never hung out with Trump. I've been to some meetings with him, but I've never met him in person. I think he's a brilliant businessman. He is a brilliant leader, but he has no clue when it comes to natural health and being healthy. He just has good genes. So if you follow the Donald Trump food menu course, you're not going to be very healthy for very long. I can tell you that. But I do trust RFK Jr. and I do trust the doctors like Dr. Ed Group, who's a friend of mine, who's part of the transition team. I do trust other doctors that I know are natural leaning doctors that are integrative doctors that are getting on I shouldn't call it a transition team. As of today, it's going to be the team. Mm-hmm. I've been invited to the team. Massive friends I've had for years have been invited to the team. Matter of fact, Ed Group, they got out of the WHO. He told me that a month before it was even announced. He told me it was happening. So I'm talking to people behind the scenes. And what I can tell you, Amy, is my friends that I've known for many years are saying, John, don't worry about this misdirection of this mRNA vaccine. It ain't happening. There's nobody, it's not happening. So,
well, even Elon said we don't have the funding.
No. And
We get
Elon,
$10 billion
Elon,
of $500 billion
people,
that we're
I
looking
have
for
very
here.
close friends, Amy, that think Elon's an evil guy and he's bad and he's bad. But I'm just telling you, Elon's woken up like the rest of us. I mean,
Yeah.
how many people have a liberal friend? How many of us have a liberal friend that has now woken up and is telling us, can you believe this? And can you believe that? And all the stuff that's going on with the organizations that they're finding out are funding all sorts of fraudulent things. We should all be sitting on our knees every morning like I do and praying to God for thank you for allowing us to turn around our country. Thank you for doing this. So my positive messages to people is that the things I can say now and teach people about, we're learning at lightning speed. But there's so much coming at us now. It's like a fire hose. It's like a fire hose of information, and we have to discern what's right and what's wrong. So anybody listening to me, I'm not saying, hey, John has all the answers. Call me tomorrow. I'll get you. Come to my clinic. I don't treat anybody. I don't see any patients. I help doctors. I consult doctors and tell them how my dad's protocol worked. I introduce them to these thousands, Amy, thousands of cases of people that have wiped out their cancer naturally using my father's protocol and other protocols. Like I said, I could go through a lot of this. What I want to get through to people is that today, with RFK being confirmed, starts the beginning of us healing as a nation. It starts the beginning of us not injecting ourselves with poisonous drugs and not being able to sue the companies that inject us with those. It's at the beginning of not being force-fed pharmaceutical drugs when we watch the Super Bowl. It's the beginning of doctors not getting financially supported if they have 85% of their kids injected with these poisonous vaccines. These are all started today. I'm on cloud nine.
If RFK could move the FDA into more of a position where they did support natural supplements, would you even want government or agency involvement in that? Like from a regulation standpoint, like what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are the FDA was originally, all the ideas started as a good idea. The FDA was originally, people were selling snake oils and they were poisoning people and then they were running out of town. And that was originally the idea of the FDA. But what it's evolved into is just a money-making machine. FDA to big pharma, back and forth. The only thing that you can sell in America is big pharma drugs. We have 4% of the nation's population, 98% of the big pharma profits. So there's something wrong. The FDA has basically become a policing agent to keep any natural God-given answers out of people's hands and only give you the $10,000, $20,000 chemotherapy drugs. That's the only drugs you're allowed to take legally if you're a cancer patient. And if the doctor prescribes exercise and vitamin C, he could probably lose his license. Or not probably, would. So would I want still be for? Yes, an FDA that literally does its job of protecting people from eating poisons or being lied to. That's not the case with the B17 and amygdalin. That's the lie they told. I have a very good friend that was with the FDA for 40 years. If he wasn't on an FDA pension, he would probably be on this podcast with me, sitting right by me. He said we knew it worked, John. Every time he walks up to my booth, he comes and eats apricot seeds. We knew it worked. We just, we were told from above, yeah, you got to stifle these things. The rank and file with the FDA are actually mostly good people. It's the upper level people that are all about control and money and actually evil plans that are bad. And that's what is RFK is going to be changing. I know it because I know the people that they're actively looking for truth-telling patriots that have medical knowledge. I've been told that they want me to chair the natural answers to cancer part of the
Congrats.
new organization.
That'd be fantastic.
I don't know if I can work for the government and still continue to tell the stories because there's a fine line when you're working for the government. You can't really recommend stuff to people like you can if you're outside. So
well, if somebody wants to be preventive of cancer, they don't have cancer yet, they want to get on this protocol, as you call it, is it as simple as just eating apricot seeds, or are we talking there's more to this protocol and they need to go and read about it? And
yeah. Well, it's even more simple than that, Amy.
Okay.
It's more simple than that. Here's one book. It's called The Little Cyanide Cookbook. It's been around since the 1970s.
Okay.
June Despain was an FDA pharmacologist and toxicologist. And she proved in this little booklet, she proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the lie about cyanide poisoning is not true, that we eat hundreds, 1,200 different foods with amygdalin in them. This
But
book
there
has been
were
around
people
for
that
50
died
years.
from cyanide poisoning.
What's
Just
that?
maybe I said there were people that died from cyanide poisoning, but just
Yeah.
not through their apricot seeds.
Well,
Is what you're
not through. They died of cyanide poisoning from real cyanide.
right.
It is
I
not
just
free
wanted to make
cyanide.
that distinction clear with
Yeah,
everyone.
well, she calls it a little cyanide cookbook in the back and says, "Sorry, ladies, this is not a manual on how to scuttle an overinsured husband." But,
I
but
feel like we have a Dateline, like a Dateline episode coming up here with, with this.
well, yeah. I'm not a fear monger. The cyanide lie. Like I said, I've been doing this 30 years.
Yeah.
If I had killed one of my customers, Amy, I wouldn't be on this podcast. I don't know of a case, but people have gotten upset stomach. But it was an easy lie for the FDA to tell when my dad was having all these successes, and that Sloan Kettering did a study. Amy, I'm not kidding. They proved that Laetrile stopped the metastases of cancer in laboratory rats.
What
They
is
proved it.
Lantril?
Laetrile is amygdalin, is what it's the
Okay. So amygdalin, Lantril, and B17, are those all
all the
interchangeable?
same thing. It
Okay.
is confusing.
Okay.
Amygdalin was in the pharmacopoeias up until early 1970s. It was on the FDA GRAS list, the generally regarded as safe. There's never been a case of, so people ate amygdalin regularly. It was in 1,200 different foods. We've just bred, GMO'd, cooked it out of our food supply, so that's why we need a supplement. But that's
You have to eat it raw? Is that the best way to get
that's
this?
the best. Apricot seeds is the best way, but even better than that, the best way is to change your diet to an organic, plant-based diet as much as possible. If you have got a lot of animal proteins and you're not eating a lot of vegetables with B17 in it, like I said, lima beans, millet, barley, broccoli. There's a whole bunch of natural substances that are natural foods that have amygdalin in it. That's the best way. I actually have a book someplace, if I can find it quickly, by
What
a
if
friend,
you're,
a very
what if
good
you're on
friend.
the carnivore diet, but
Yeah,
you
the
need
carnivore diet. The
amygdalin?
reason.
Are there supplements you could take?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. They're right behind me. They're on our website, but I'm not the only one that offers them. You know, it's basically I'm the kind of the champion because my dad gave his life. The doctor who dared is right back here. That was my father. He gave his life to tell the world about this. He was an MD. He was a principled, honorable man, and they raided his practice. They sued him 4 times. They put him in jail. They took away his license. And eventually he died in 1988, you know, basically a broken man, but he never gave up the battle. And I've just picked up that battle along with another doctor, Dr. Harold Manor, who wrote this book called The Death of Cancer. He was the Loyola University doctor who had 50 published articles. This book by Harold Manor is not even, you can't even find it. I think this is one of 2 copies we have. I'm trying to find out how I can get it reprinted, but he ended up proving that that Laetrile and vitamin A and enzymes wiped out breast cancer in laboratory mice and then in 15 women. And what happened to him, he was fired. And then he moved to Mexico, broke, and worked at a clinic down there. He was demonized and fired. And then he died the same month as my father. So this is a deep rabbit hole, Amy.
Yeah.
And I know I'm throwing a lot out, but I can promise you every single word I've said is truth, honesty, transparency. I'm not marketing a product and telling people you could get it from me. I want the whole.
My question, though, is more for the people that are saying, okay, I feel helpless. I want to learn more about these natural remedies. I don't get any information from my doctor. They don't even know where to direct me. So are there clinics? Are there places, health coaches that you got? Like, if
Yes.
someone wants to learn more about this,
Yeah.
where do they go?
The whole medical system is changing. Let me tell you, unfortunately, 1,620 people a day die of cancer. There's going to be that many people dying today. Unfortunately, we're going to lose some good souls in this battle. We're losing it, but we're also getting this message out. You, Amy, are helping save lives right now, because here's the good news. There is alternatives. There is information. You can find it. It's more available now than it's ever been. I'm getting the information out there. I'm talking to some of the biggest influencers. I can start mentioning names, and I'm talking about this and giving them the proof so that they can feel comfortable letting more of their people, followers, know about it. But we're going to
So where do you
lose some.
send them?
What's that?
So where do we send them? They
We
say,
send
hey,
them. We send them to organizations like Gold Care that is formed by Simone Gold, who was one of the brave doctors that stood on the steps of the Capitol building and said, COVID can be cured or wiped out with ivermectin and
Yep, she
hydroxychloroquine.
was just on our show.
Okay, great.
We just released her episode
She is
last
a
week.
friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
She's a friend of mine. Now, you go, why didn't she tell me about this? Well, because Simone is one of the busiest people in the world. She knows what I'm doing. Her chief medical officer loves me. I meet with them every week, but we have to get this message out because doctors, the biggest thing that I hear from Christian, good-hearted doctors who have now woken up is, John, I have to unlearn 10 years of education to relearn the truth. And so I've had tearful major doctors tell me this, brain surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, cancer specialists, because they have to relearn it because it's so hard. And even when I'm talking to people, literally, Amy, after I finish with you, you're going to be like, this has been a whirlwind. I don't know what to make of who John Richardson is. So I implore people to dig into it and find out. So Gold Care. Gold Care is $10 a month. Go into Gold Care. Get into their classes. I'm going to be doing another one. I did one of the most attended classes. I did just 15 minutes. And I had doctors reaching out to me John, I want more. This is a lot more than a 15-minute subject. And there's many doctors using it. Another organization called cancerdoctor.com. You can go on there. You can get a free consultation. There is Chris Beat Cancer. He's a friend of mine. He cured his colon cancer by eating apricot seeds. But he also knows about colonics or vitamin C therapy or fenbendazole. He talks about all these things. Mm-hmm. Chris is another source. The Body. I just met with the brain surgeon. Oh my gosh, he would be mad at me because we're Jackson. Anyways, he's a famous brain surgeon. He started an organization called The Body. And he knew about apricot seeds and laetrile, but he didn't know the in-depth that I did until I talked to him yesterday. He is committed to getting people to the right doctors who are at least open to telling their patients about natural answers while they're prescribing them chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. We're building a new system.
Yeah, I mean, is there a blood test that somebody could do to say, I am amygdala deficient?
Not likely. There may be soon, but here, let me just tell you, that's the side of it. Do you know that you can give someone a pregnancy test, a pregnancy test, and if it comes up positive, he has cancer? Do you know that? Okay, it's a fact. It's because what cancer is it's a trophoblastic cell that doesn't have the vitamins to kill it off when it's supposed to. So it looks just like a cancer. Basically behaves just like an embryonic thing does until the pancreas starts producing pancreatic enzymes. Like I said, it's more in depth than I'm going to get to here. But why don't doctors tell you, instead of doing a biopsy, why don't they tell you take a pregnancy test? If you're a woman, you're either pregnant or you have cancer. If you're a man and you take it, you're not pregnant, you have cancer. That is a piece of knowledge that's been known for 70 years, but nobody knows about it. So it's a lot to keep teaching people. Mm-hmm. But I'm committed for the rest of my life to honor my father and to get this out there because I believe we have 2 years, maybe 4, to make this change. So I'm all out. Everybody I talk to that has faith in God is saying this is the time to get the truth out there. I've thrown out a lot of things, but I want to simplify it for you, Amy. Cancer is a deficiency disease. So people tell me all the time, oh, should I start eating amygdalin now? Yes. That's if I'm right, and G. Edward Griffin, who wrote the book World Without Cancer, and my goodness, I don't know why today none of my books are here, but G. Edward Griffin wrote the book World Without Cancer. It's 50 years old. In December of last year, 50 years old, and there's not one fact in there he said that's ever been disproven, and he doesn't know anybody that regularly eats apricot seeds that's ever died of cancer. Now,
my question, I actually was going to ask you that. What about the people who eat apricot seeds and then still die of cancer? What is going on there?
Well, there is a different story, and I know it sounds like I'm making a fine line. Prevention of cancer is completely different than wiping it out after you've got full-blown cancer.
Glad you made that distinction, actually. Yeah.
Once you have full-blown cancer, there's a lot of issues. The main one is the pancreatic enzymes. So if you're not eating your pancreas stops producing the pancreatic enzymes your body needs to eat the outer coating of the cancer cell, the tumors. The amygdalin or the vitamins can't get in to kill the cancer. They can't get
Oh,
in.
wow. Okay.
You've got the vitamin B15, which is also demonized. It's called pangamic acid. It's an oxygenator for the blood. It's in apricot seeds. It's in other foods. It's in brown rice. But we don't know about it. Most people go, I've never heard of B15.
Okay, so that's what I was at. So that's really, you really answered a good question for me. So it's the journey that we're talking about. Oh, wow. So the journey we're talking about is very different from those who are trying to be preventive. They can start the apricot seeds. But once you have cancer, then you really need to find a doctor who understands the more in-depth procedures that you would need to take, because it could be more supplements that you need. It's not just the apricot seeds at that point. It's more, and you can.
Sure, it could be niacin deficiency. It could be, like I said, pangamic acid.
Yeah.
It could be enzymes.
But to my knowledge, most doctors don't have to take a nutrition course anymore.
Well, not only do they not, they get about 17 hours on
Yeah.
average. Big pharma supports big medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Big medicine turns around and only prescribes big pharma. One of the things that I've had RFK, a childhood friend of him, in my office telling me that he is out looking for a campus to build a medical school that teaches 80% natural, God-given, proven answers, and then still 20% what you'd call, big pharma answers like, fenbendazole, surgery. You can't nutritional your way out of a car accident.
Sure.
You
Yes.
can't take vitamins to
Right.
to wipe out your, different things. Surgery is still necessary in some advanced cases of cancer when it's blocking an organ or things like that. But it should be a point of last resort. Another thing, a mind-blowing thing I'm going to tell people in your audience, tumors are not cancer.
What do you
Tumors
mean?
are a symptom of cancer. Tumors are a symptom of you not having the nutrients in your body to keep it off. There's all sorts of stories we know about the farmer that's eaten a healthy diet his whole life, smoked cigarettes his whole life, and he lives to be 98. If cigarettes truly cause cancer and cancer wasn't a deficiency disease, then everybody that smokes cigarettes would die of cancer. But that's not the case. You can have a good diet and still do some stupid things if you eat the proper foods and never get cancer. And that's the fact.
Wow.
But they don't want you to know that. And only on Parler do I feel today that I'm free to say this, that I'm not going to get censored. And so if anybody contacts you and says, oh, that guy's a liar, or that guy's talking about something, they're free to get in touch with me. I'm free to point them in the right thing. I'm free to give them the studies. I'm free to show them the case histories. I'm free to introduce them to people that are alive 50 years later. And let me show you one more, Amy. I don't know what time we have.
Yeah.
Here's a young man that came to my dad at the age of 6. Here's his cancer. He had full-blown cancer. It's through his entire arm. It spread through his spleen, his organs. When my dad showed this case on national television, or he was on the Phil Donahue show, they would say, oh, that's not the same x-ray. The x-rays were taken at the same oncology clinic. This is before, this is after. This young man is climbing over the fence, the back fence of my dad's clinic in Albany, California in like 1976, after he was sent home to die. His name is Shane Horton. And how do I know this? Because I played with Shane Horton as a 6-year-old. We used to jump that fence and go to a bowling alley on the back beside my dad's clinic in Albany, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area in the 1970s. I was born in 1964, and so was Shane. Today, he is a 60-year-old crab fisherman, Alaskan king crab fisherman, that still grounds, still eats natural foods, and still takes apricot seeds in this day. So that's just one of the 62 documented case histories that had cancer, proven at an oncology department, went through my dad's protocol, and then were proven at the same cancer clinic to not have cancer at the end.
That's incredible.
It's been known.
That's actually a great segue into go ahead and just plug away everywhere where people can find you. If they want to get in touch with you, if they want to read these books that you mentioned, where can people go to find all that?
Well, we have a website. We have 2 websites. One is our product website where we don't mention the C word, and we don't, but it's in books. It's on the title of books like Laetro cases. On YouTube, I have to, or TikTok, I got to cross off the C word, Though everywhere else, you got to
Good
censor
to
yourself
know as we
constantly.
promote the show on those, like which words we're gonna have to blur
Oh yeah,
out and what we're gonna have to
you can't
change.
say cancer, you can't say B17, you can't say rncstore.com. That's where people would find me. If you put rncstore.com on YouTube, your video gets instantly deleted. Why? Why is that? I'm not forcing anybody. I'm not mandating anybody listens to what I have to say. I'm
I
just
know.
being available. But it's rncstore.com. It's easy to remember. Republican National Committee. We had the name long before RNC back in the 70s. But rncstore.com. And you can spend hours on there listening to videos. One is the video Second Opinion, all about Sloan Kettering proving that Laetrile stopped the metastases of cancer, and then they lied about it, covered it up. Ralph Moss, who was the whistleblower back then, still alive. He's in his 80s, but you can watch that video for free. You can read, you can download digital copies of some of the books that are behind me for $5. You can buy a copy of the books. You can look at apricot seeds, or you can look at some of our other things. We have a chocolate bar that's totally healthy and natural with B17. We're trying to make it.
Can kids take that?
Kids, absolutely. Yeah.
So they can start eating apricot
Amy.
seeds?
Again, Amy, do you not feed your kids lima beans or broccoli? Do you not feed
No,
your
they don't
kids?
eat.
When your kids eat an apple, do you tell them to spit out the apple seed
Of
because
course.
it's poisonous? You shouldn't, Amy.
I didn't know. I didn't
You
know.
shouldn't.
See, I'm learning too on this
That's the
journey.
big. I know. That's the big lie that they tell us is they take they make seedless apples and seedless watermelon. God said in Genesis 1:29, "Let the seed be thy food."
Yep.
Made the seeds for your food. This is the video that's available. This producer made it. It had 750,000 views on YouTube, and they deleted it, censored it, gone. He was left with 6,000 copies of the DVD. We got a hold of him just last year. He allowed us to stream it free on our website so people
Yeah.
can watch it, and
Well, he
also
needs
to
to
sell
put
a
it
copy. You can
all
sell
of
it
your
and give it.
friends,
What's
yourself
that?
included. We got to get all you guys back on Parlor and start putting these videos. If you've got an archive, a library of your video content, I'm sure you've got it on some of the other platforms too. But like, put it on Play TV.
We
We
will,
would lo-
Amy. That's the first time I heard about it, so
Yep.
it's a great thing. I'm a patriot. I'm a truth teller. There's 20 different platforms. I was a huge supporter of Parlor. I'm back to being a huge supporter of Parlor. I'm excited that I'm on here. I'm excited to support you guys. And yes, we're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on every place we can be. But YouTube censors us instantly. So
Everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere.
yeah.
Over there. They want more videos. They want to hear more. Go to Play TV. Love it. Let's get it. Yep. Wow.
Well, I also have a show. I do a weekly show called Hidden Healings Uncensored, and I've got a backlog of probably 20 or 30 episodes. Yeah, so I can put those on, and I've done last year I did 246 podcasts from everything from Man in America to I'm meeting with Charlie Kirk's right hand man tomorrow to go on his podcast. So it's been a slow process because as you're doing this, you get censored, and the automatic thing is
Excellent.
do a little Google search. Oh, cyanide. Ooh, we don't want that guy on. He's trying to kill people. I've had to build some credibility. I've had to recruit people. Like I said, Simone Gold. She's a friend.
Awesome.
She hunts me out when we're at events together, and I hunt her out because she's a brave soldier in this army too, and she's fighting for truth and freedom. And she's she would be a great addition to Parlor. And like I said, I meet weekly with the Gold Care team, just trying how we get this message out there of truth and health and medicine. And so this last week, I introduced him to Rick Hill, who I talked to you about, who's could be someone that could come on your show and tell his story.
Yeah,
It'll change people's lives. And so that's what I'm doing.
We're here for. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are giving the platform, and we are bringing people on who don't have a voice on other platforms. And we know that because I've experienced censorship myself for the last 7 years, and I got tired of it. And I was so happy when Parlor came around the first time, but like everybody else, within 24 hours, I jumped on the tail end of it. It got shut down.
Yeah.
And, so I've experienced it myself, and I knew that if God gave me a second chance, I was going to give a second chance back to other people as well. And that's exactly what I want to do with this
Well, any way I
platform.
can help. I used to speak on the Clay Clark events. They don't do the Clay Clark, the Reawaken America tour. So
Yeah.
I hung out with a lot of great guys, Tom Renz and attorney Tom Renz, and General Flynn, Clay Clark, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. I'm just mentioning names of people I'm friends with that I can help. If your
Amazing.
team
Yeah.
wants help getting a hold of these people that had good followings on Parler or not, we're all looking to get our message out there, and we're all tired of building platforms. I have a woman who wrote a book. Again, my books have been completely, here we go. A woman who wrote a book who's a friend of mine. It's all about her conquering cancer with apricot seeds, soursop tea, and black seed oil. She had 1.5 million views on a TikTok video, and they took it down and deleted her. And she's
I know.
persona.
It is exhausting. It is exhausting having to rebuild a platform. That's why I will tell you that the good thing about Play TV and Parler is that we don't have the algorithms built in that push or keep your content from being seen by certain people. We don't make that decision of who can see it. If you're friends with friends, not only will your friends see your content, but their network will see your content as well. And so we don't have these hidden algorithms that make it hard for people like you to grow on the platform. So it's all around great. I'll definitely get you in touch with the team. But I just thank you for your time. I'll leave you with the final message, whatever you want to say to the audience to encourage them and send them on their way.
Well, my two messages are no fear, don't have fear, false evidence appearing real, cancer is a deficiency disease, and you'll prove that to yourself if you really cared enough to look. If you just want to listen to the doctors, you're going to go the path that they know. That's all they've been taught. I've met many great doctors. All they know from college was big pharma answers and surgery and chemotherapy. So find a doctor who's willing to be open to it. Second thing is, this is the time to take up your, whatever it is that you believe in, this is the time to do it. We only have 2 to 4 years of this system before the evil ones, the negative people, are gonna try to push back and get it. So this is the time to make the difference. So get brave, get out there, tell your story, come on Parler and tell your message. Don't be afraid to tell your truth, because this is the time to do it. And if we don't do it now, we may never have the chance in 2 to 4 years. We need to conquer this now.
Excellent. Great messages. Thank you again for coming on. You're welcome anytime on the show, but thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Amy. God bless.